Okay, so today we're going to finally do it. We're going to talk about the difference between a CGC 9.8 and a PSA 10. That's right, 10, and this is currently up in our PSA auction over at collectorscomics.com. But I'm going to show you detailed images of both of them, and we can see the difference on what a 9.8 is and what a 10 is. And also, if you want to win this book right here, all you have to do is head over to collectorscomics.com and enter our giveaway. It's completely free. Also, follow this channel and our Instagram. And here's the back, if you want to see it. And we have a featured auction going on, as well as a PSA Select only auction going on. But yeah, let's look at these two books and compare them. I know, like, I pretty much announced this when we got it in, and it's in our auction right now. And I'll also figure out how much it's worth, what it should go for, what it might go for, and all the in-betweens. But we'll look at both of them. Also, one interesting thing I found about is these guys interlock, CGC and PSA. They kind of connect a little bit. See, I'm forcing. I mean, yeah, obviously you can force it. It's not like a Lincoln log, but nonetheless, you can do it. So we'll look at close-up pictures, and we'll go through each of them. I took them with a brand new iPhone, what is it, 17 Pro or whatever. So it's the latest one. Took them in the same lighting, same everything, so it's be identical. But yeah, so let's look at these. Let's look at these images and see which one is better. Here we are. Okay, I need to make me small. How do I do that? Or maybe we don't even need to make me anything. Okay, so let's just look at it. Here it is. So we don't need me, right? Let me make this a little bigger. Okay, so here we go. Here is the 9.8. As you can see, this is just the front picture. Obviously, you're not going to be. I tried to take a picture of all the damage that I could do, the corners, everything, so you could see for yourself. So if you look up here, this is the 9.8. You can see a little bit of fraying right there. Try to zoom in, just a touch. So this is the 9.8 CGC, just a little touch, nothing major. That's fine. If you scroll down a little bit, there's little tiny, right here, you can see just the ever so tiny, whatever it's called, color breaks. All right, so not much really. Okay, here's a more close-up of that corner where you can kind of see a little bit. Now, obviously, there's like this white right here, but this is from it getting cut. This is not part of the damage. But this right here is part of the damage. I'm zooming in as far as I can. So a little touch of something going on right here, as you can see. Okay, so let's go to the next picture. Staples are good. Everything's pretty good. You can kind of see a little color break right there. I think I have a zoomed in picture of it. Yeah, so you got a little something there, barely even noticeable. And then you got a color break with a crease. Now I'm zooming in a lot, so you have to bear in mind that they look bigger. But you can see the color break, it's right in here. So again, this is the CGC 9.8. Now let's look at the bottom. So overall, still pretty good. Let's see the bottom staple, really nice. Here we go, bottom. There's this blunted edge corner. Let's do a more zoomed in. And then here we go. That's what you got. You got a little bit of fraying, a little bit of damage on the bottom. Now, people will see, hey, I can see the book itself. That's fine, because that's just how it was put together. Not a big deal if you can see the bottom of that. It's just you could probably shift it a little bit, just the way the staples are. All right. Here's the other corner. I mean, it looks pretty decent until you look at that bottom corner, and it has a diagonal little dog ear thing. Now you can see the back cover right here, along here. See that little black cover a little bit? That's the back cover, and that is fine. People think like, oh, it has roll or whatever. No, it's just the way it was put together and the way it's sitting in the case. That's not an actual issue. And you can see here how the cover kind of like, here's the actual book, and then here's where the cover starts. It's just the way it was shifted. I mean, if you had it in your hands, you could probably shift it back. It's just the way it's sitting in the case and the way it is. And sometimes these, the way they're manufactured, were just, you know, a little bit of overhang. But it's not, that does not downgrade it at all. That's not how comics work. But anyways, I'm zooming in a ton here. You can like literally see the dots of ink. You can see this corner crease, a little like smash, and then a corner crease that goes across there. All right, let's go up to the top corner. Top corner is great. There's nothing, like the book itself is great. There's nothing going on with the top corner. It's perfect. Like I said, you can see the little bit of an overhang of the book. That does not downgrade it. I know people commented before. This is just another picture of that little tiny stuff that's going on. Little tiny stuff. But overall, pretty nice. Here's the back corner. Not tiny little something. It looks like a little bit of dirt, but I'm trying to zoom in as much as possible. It's great. Here we go. Back cover, top corner, a little tiny something, nothing major. You can kind of see a little color break there on the back, even though it's white. And then you go down here, and that's that same crease on the front, but now on the back, and it's ever so slightly. Hopefully you guys have good eyes. Back corner, bottom, perfect. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing going on. Bottom corner, it did have that blunting on the front. Really hard to tell because of the way the CGC case curves, which actually I found the PSA a lot better to see the whole book. This one is like curves. It's right along the edge. But you can kind of see a little... Move this stupid thing. You can kind of see something right there, and then you can kind of see something right here. Other than that, other than those little things, the book is great. So really, your only real major defects looking at the whole book is the top is fine. It's more that corner, that color break in the middle of the book, and then that the bottom corner crease, and then bottom other corner. That's really where bottom this corner right here. That's really where you have your main issues. Yeah. All right, so now on to the PSA 10. Let's look at the PSA 10. Here's the 10, same type picture. I have a big back cover. Also, you can go to collectorscomics.com and you can look at the whole thing if you want to. And they have better pictures than this. This I just took my iPhone, so you see all this like stupid glare and all that kind of stuff. That won't be there. Just go to collectorscomics.com and look at the whole thing. All right, here's the top. Perfect. Nothing wrong with it. Literally perfect. Zero issues. Zero. Look at that spine. Perfect. And then some people were like, oh, well, look here. There's like no black here. And then, you know, the spine wrap or whatever. That doesn't downgrade the book. That does not downgrade the book just because it's the way it was printed and the way it was put together. Here's the spine. Literally nothing. Look at that spine. Can you see anything? Nothing. Like, see, here's the black coming down, and then you're going to get some of the white of the back cover. That's not an issue. That's just the way it was made. It is not perfectly centered. I know when it comes to cards, everything has to be perfectly centered. That's not how it is with comics. All right, here's their bottom corner right here. There is the staple. Staple is fine. It's a little loose out, but that is not. That's just part of the manufacturing. And the bottom is fine. No fraying, no nothing. Fine. Here is the corner. Here's the back of, that is the back of the back cover. And there is this. No nothing. Perfectly fine. Nothing going on with that. Here is the top of the corner. Yeah, you can see the back. That purple is like the back of the back cover. It's just the way it's sitting in the case. But look at it. Perfectly fine. Nothing going on. Overall, perfect. Here is the back corner cover. Top back. Perfect. Sharp as could be. Nothing going on. Here is this one. Now this one is the only one that could be suspect. See that little white up there? But that is just, I was looking at it in person, and it's just how it was cut. Similar to how I showed you on the 9.8 up here. Up here, how you can see little flecks of white. See how you can see little flecks of white and stuff like that? That's this. Obviously, it has to get cut at some point. See, little fleck of white over there? That's all that it is. I looked at it very closely. It's not damage. All right, then we're on to here. Oh, whoops, this is the wrong one. Then we're on to, let me go to this one. Okay, so here we are here. Here is the back spine. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Again, you can look at all these pictures online at collectorscomics.com. Here we go. Here's the back. What the hell? There's the back. Perfect. Perfect. And then here is the back other corner. Perfect. Sharp as could be. Literally nothing. This is a 10 is all 10s. Okay. Let me. Hey, I disappeared. There we are. So anyways, that's the books. That's the difference between the two right here. You can look at them. Bigger. We have huge images on our website, collectorscomics.com, and you could look at this all day long. It ends in a week. This weekend, this Friday. Yeah. So it's already up to $3,100. Now, what does a 9.8 normally go for? What is a 9.8? This is obviously direct, not newsstand. Also, another thing, remember I showed you on the back cover, you can see these much more clear than you can with these. They're all rounded, so it's hard, but you can see like the bottoms because normally the CGC case is covering that. Anyways, what does this go for? Normally, a 9.8, roughly around $500. That's what it goes for. So what would a 10.0 go for? It is currently at, right, and it still has a week left. It is currently at $3,100. So let's go through and let's look at what they go for. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to pull up a bunch of different things. So this is our auction, so you can see where it's at, how many days it has left. It has 6 days, 6 hours. As you can see right there. There it is. It's the crown jewel of the auction. $3,100 it is currently at. With 6 days to go. Here's close-up pictures if you want to look at the pictures right here. And you can zoom in all you want. Just zoom in, whatever. All right, so that's over there at our collectors. So what will it go for? So first, I'm going to minimize me because you need to. Wrong one. Here we go. Why does it keep doing that? Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. I can't figure this out. Okay, well, there we go. Whatever. So anyways, what does it go for? All right, here we go. Let's look through the history of X-Men 266, because if you go on the GPA for X-Men 266, you're only going to find one sale at $3,200. That's the newest sale. $3,200 for a 9.9. First of all, there's 16 9.9s. Comic Link does not put their sales on the GPA, so the Comic Link has sold a bunch. So here you go. This is all the way back in 2017. So if we look at this one from 2015, $3,200. Then we go here. Oops, wrong one. We go here, and it is a 9.9 white pages, obviously. And it sold 2 years later for $5,600. Okay, so $5,600. Then this is back in 2017, right here. So as you can see, hey, why is it doing that? All right, so then what's next? All right, next is the next one to sell was also in Comic Link, and it sold for $2,100. Sorry, $21,000. Dumb. $21,000, and this sold at the peak. This is literally the peak of comic everything. In May of 2021. So this is a 9.9, and at the time, they had 15 graded. 15 9.9s were graded. So that gives you just a little example of what's going on. 15 graded at a 9.9 and one sold at the peak for $21,000. Okay, so when's the next one sell? The next one actually was a recent sale. This one sold for $10,000 on Comic Link, so same website. Sold in May of this year, 2025, and it's sold for $10,000, and only one more is graded because now at this time there's 16. Last time in 2021 there's 15, now there's 16 graded. So one more has graded. And when there's more graded, it does devalue a little bit. But again, we're looking at the fact that it was the comic boom, the hype of all comic books, and it sold for $21,000. And now it's a recent sale is $10,000. So, okay, let's bear that in mind. So let's bring me here. So a lot of people will think, okay, if people view PSA 10s as a 9.9 CGC with a recent sale going for about $10,000, we could deduce that if people thought a PSA 10 is the same as a CGC 9.9, that it's probably going to be, between $8,000 and $12,000. That's probably what it's going to be. A recent sale of $10,000. So if it's going for, between 8 and 12, that's probably the range because, there's auctions or a buy now or anything like that. And also being 16 graded at a 9.9, $8,000 to $12,000 is probably where I would put it. $8,000 is on the very low end, $12,000 is on the high end, $10,000 in the middle, especially since we had the sale of $10,000 not too long ago. And also at its peak, it was $21,000. So that seems about right. That's where I would put it. You let me know your thoughts. Now, what if it is a CGC 10.0? What if people view this PSA 10 as a CGC 10? Now, there is no 10s of X-Men 266. There's only 16 9.9s. 0 10s whatsoever. So this would be the sole 10 and single highest grade. So now we have to kind of figure out what would something like that go for. Well, we have a recent example of this Ultimate Fallout 4 9.9. This sold for $31,000 recently, just 2 months ago. Yeah, 2 months ago exactly. Sold for $31,000 on Comic Link in auction. Single highest grade. There is nothing above it. There is no 10s. So being the single highest grade, that's going to command the most. So what does a Ultimate Fallout 4 normally go for? In a 9.8, it goes for about $1,000 versus the 266 goes for about $500, so half the price. Now, there is a difference between a 10 and a 9.9, but they are both single highest grade. So taking those two things into example, and then what else do I have here? Also, I was going to show you a 9.9 with 2 at a 9.9 for a Spider-Man 238, which is a good example. Sold for $31,000. 2 at a 9.9. There's 2 graded at a 9.9, no 10s. And this as well is also $1,000. So roughly the same as an Ultimate Fallout 4. This is the sole example, only one, of a First Jubilee 244. Now I'd argue that First Gambit is more expensive, but this is very close. Same series, Uncanny X-Men 244. There's only one 9.9. That is it, only one, and it sold for $6,000. And a 9.8 sells for $150. So if you're doing single highest grade, if this was actually a 10.0 CGC, the X-Men 266, you're probably looking at like 3 times that, so like $18,000, $20,000, somewhere in there. So those are all things I'm looking at. Also, there is a New Mutants. This is old. This is very old. But just to give you an example, a 9.9 single highest grade of this New Mutants 98 first Deadpool sold in 2009 for $12,000. Then in 2013, when this article came out, 2013, a 10.0, a Gem Mint 10, sold for $15. So this is slightly more than the Soul 9.9 at the time. Then it gets beat, and there's a 15. So let's take on all that information. If there was a 10, if this was valued as a CGC 10, I would put this at minimum $25,000. To as high, it could go 50, right? It could. Who knows, right? It's a 10, but I mean that's like, best case scenario. Judging by the fact that the Soul 9.9 of Ultimate Fallout 4 sold for $31,000 recently, being this the Soul 10, being a 10 is better than a 9.9, so you have to add some value. But an Ultimate Fallout 4, just regular 9.8, is worth less. Or, is worth more than an X-Men 266. So, taking it in all, I would say $25,000 on the low end. For if this was a CGC 10.0, people always get, why do you call it 10.0? It's just this thing. Gem Mint 10. This would be $25,000 on the low end. I could see maybe $50,000 to two people that really want it and they're bidding feverishly for it. So that's where I put it. So that comes down to this. What will it command? If it commands between 8 and 12, then people are going to view PSA as a CGC 9.9. If it goes for 20, 25,000 at least, people will view a PSA 10 the same as a CGC 10. Now, if this goes for like 40 or 50,000, people will view this, a PSA 10, better than a CGC 10. That's just facts. Now, if you're looking at cards, a PSA 10 is worth more than most other 10s out there for card grading. So if you have a PSA 10 versus a SGC 10, the PSA 10 is worth astronomically more. Same with the BGS, unless you have a BGS Pristine, which is all 10s, but you can get a BGS 10 and it has like 9.5 and 3 10s. If you don't know cards, then it's fine. Or a tag, there's a bunch of different grading companies. But a PSA 10 for cards is worth vastly more than any other company. So where is this going to fall? Is this going to fall as a 9.9 CGC? Is this going to fall in line with CGC? Or is this going to fall with how their cards go? And this is a 10 PSA is worth vastly more than a 10 CGC. I don't know. I'm just telling you what the parameters will go for. Like I said, 8 to 12,000 is a 9.9. That's where the 9.9 goes for. It's currently at 3,100, so it's obviously worth more than a 9.8. A 9.8 is $500. It's obviously worth more. So far, it's 6 times more, but it does need to get up to at least around $10,000 to be valued the same as a 9.9, and it has to get up to $20,000, $25,000 to get valued as a CGC 10. And and if you want it to be, and that's minimum, a true 10, CGC 10, probably goes for a lot more, but I'm thinking at minimum. So yeah, that's how I value. Let me know how you think it should be valued. And yeah, it's going to be crazy to watch. This is the first PSA auction 10 ever, of like an actual cool book, like a very big key. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Kind of the fate of PSA lays in the hands of this book. Well, I don't know if the fate of the PSA lays in the hands of this book, but it will be interesting to see how this goes. And yeah, I'm very, very curious. I'm sure we all are. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you think of my math, and have a great day.